That's right, it's your boy. Today, we are creating the ultimate Griffith build in Baldur's Gate 3. This won't be the Golden Age nor Femto. That's right, my friends, we are creating the Falconia Arc version of Griffith. This one sees Griffith maintaining his human form and his swashbuckler type style of fighting, while also wielding some of his otherworldly Femto powers as well. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future builds or content, and let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see next. As usual, timestamps down below for your convenience. That being said, welcome to Purge Evil. Thank you for stopping by. Let's get into it. Level 1. Griffith is the ultimate face of the party, and we're going to start as a bard considering his extreme charisma, but more importantly the proficiencies and everything else we get, especially proficiencies with rapiers. I'll be honest guys, unless you dual wield or use something else, your melee attacks will probably never be as powerful as say a paladin or maybe a rogue, but we will get 3 attacks eventually and it's still completely viable. I just thought you should take note. To me, it seems like the rapiers kinda got shafted in this game, but that doesn't mean they're not worth using. Remember, you don't need a completely min-max broken character to have fun. Abilities. Strength at 8, we're going to completely dump this, even though I think Griffith would have some points here, it just doesn't fit our build whatsoever. Dexterity at 16, mainly for initiative and to help our attacks until we bind our weapon. Constitution 14 to help with our saving throws. Intelligence at 8, obviously I think Griffith might have some points here too, but just like with strength, it's unnecessary for our build. Wisdom at 10 for saves of course, and our main stat charisma at 17, as every single attack we do will scale with this stat, even our melee once we hit Warlock 3. This build makes use of the Hag's Hair, so make sure you grab that as soon as possible by making a deal with Anti-Ethel in the Putrid Bog. Our skills are going to be Perception, Deception, and Performance for glaringly obvious reasons. Being a bard, we will get Bardic Inspiration, headcanoning this to be Griffith's unparalleled leadership rather than an instrument. This gives an ally a plus 1d6 bonus on their next attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. It is a bonus action and will also pop up in dialogue checks. Note that you cannot use this on yourself. First cantrip will of course be Friends, as we've seen time and time again what Griffith can do with his words. This is a no-brainer as it gives you advantage in dialogue checks. Second will be Vicious Mockery, the most fun cantrip in the entire game as it allows you to talk shit. The damage isn't that great, but it does inflict a condition that gives the target disadvantage on their next attack roll. Many abilities in the Griffith build are going to be about debuffing our enemies. Entering into our Femto powers, every spell we take is going to be something that I could see him actually being able to do, or something that we've already seen him do. With that, we're going to focus on his gravity type magic and add some psychic abilities as well. The Master of Deception, Manipulation, and the Mind F***. First up, we're going to take Thunder Wave. This is a 2d8 thunder damage spell that knocks back enemies and objects within its radius. Very useful utility and damage dealer, perfect for Griffith. Next up, we have Dissonant Whispers. With his insane psychic power, Griffith is able to deal 3d6 psychic damage while also frightening the target for 2 turns, giving them disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks while also immobilizing them. Third will be Tasha's Hideous Laughter. This is an extremely powerful spell to use to essentially lock down a target and save them for later while you eliminate his allies. It also leaves them in a prone state of laughter, allowing for heavy melee damage as well. This can last for 10 turns, but the target has a chance to break free every time they're hit, so make note. Lastly, we will take Long Strida, one of the best spells to have in your party, as you can apply this condition to every member without expelling any spell slots so long as you do it out of combat. This gives you plus 3 meters of movement speed and lasts until long rest. The drum is probably my favorite instrument in the game, but I chose the violin for Griffith. Level 2. Being Femto, we need to access our otherworldly powers as soon as possible. For this reason, we will multi-class into Warlock at level 2. Griffith's patron is actually going to be himself, obviously, and we're going to take Archfey for some beautiful Femto flavor. Trust me on this one, check this out. With Archfey, we immediately unlock Fey Presence, or better known as Femto Presence. This is an action with 2 choices, either being to frighten or charm enemies for 2 turns within a 3-meter radius around Griffith. We went over frighten earlier, so I'll just explain charm here. This is a condition that completely disables the target from being able to attack the spellcaster, being Griffith, and also gives him advantage on dialogue checks if we were to converse with them. Very in character, and I really like this subclass for Griffith. As you can see, Griffith isn't going to need to do damage sometimes. Always being the leader, he is able to control the battlefield while his comrades or minions eliminate his foes. Obviously, our first cantrip, we have to take Eldritch Blast, being the most powerful cantrip in the entire game, so much so that some people have made entire builds based around just this spell. This is some offensive force magic that does 1d10 force damage per beam cast, and we will unlock more beams by leveling more into Warlock. Your second cantrip is a bit more situational, but still keeping the Femto theme, we will take Bone Chill, which does 1d8 necrotic damage, but more importantly, inflicts a condition that stops the target from being able to heal until their next turn, so it can be very useful in some spots, especially on Tactician. If the target happens to be undead, they also will have disadvantage on attack rolls. Moving on to spells, we will take Hex. This can be a pretty confusing spell for some people, so I'm going to make this short and sweet. The type of ability you select has little to no effect in combat. We will treat Hex just like Hunter's Mark in the sense that all of our attacks will deal an additional 1d6 necrotic damage to the affected target. As long as you maintain concentration on this spell, you can continually recast this after your target dies without expending another spell slot, and can last until long rest. This is very good to open up combat with before you begin attacking on your very first turn. For our second spell, some in-character considerations would be Sleep, Fairy Fire, Protection from Evil and Good, Charm, but it's useless because we have Femto Presence and Friends, and maybe Armor of Agathis. With that being said, the most useful spell to take is most likely going to be Arms of Hadar, so that is what we will take for the purposes of this video. Arms of Hadar is a nice eldritch looking AoE spell that does 2d6 necrotic damage to any creature within a 3-meter radius around the caster. Use this only when surrounded. Level 3. At level 3, continuing with Warlock, we get another spell and slot, and this time you can take any of the spells I listed before, but for now, we'll go ahead and take Armor of Agathis. This spell gives you 5 HP and will do 5 cold damage to attackers per casting level. It lasts either until long rest or your temporary hit points are gone, so make sure to buff outside of combat. This spell is kinda iffy to me because while it can do some damage for you, it doesn't seem to last very long, so I will be switching this one out next level. For our Eldritch invocations, we will of course take Agonizing Blast, which gives the Eldritch Blast a huge buff, adding our charisma modifier to its damage. The next one we will take will be none other than Devil's Sight, because of course Griffith can see in darkness and he will use it to his advantage. Level 4. This level, we will undoubtedly take Darkness. This is one of the most busted spells you can utilize throughout the entire game, and with some effort, you can have your entire party able to see in the darkness as well without everyone needing to be a warlock. Darkness is so good because we have Devil's Sight, meaning it won't blind us while it will blind everyone else caught inside. While inside the darkness, you'll also be heavily obscured, making you incredibly hard to hit. Ranged attacks cannot penetrate the darkness either unless you can see through it, which we can, so our Eldritch Blasts will reach out of it, and you'll also get the attacking from shadows buff when doing so. All of this makes Darkness a ridiculously overpowered spell, and you can base an entire party composition around this spell alone. At this level, we're going to replace our Armor of Agathis spell, unless you like it of course, with Hold Person. We all know what happened literally as soon as Griffith became Femto when Guts tried to attack him. Undoubtedly, this is a perfect in-character spell to take. Hold Person completely immobilizes an enemy and makes it so that they can't take any actions as well. Any attacks within 3 meters of this target will be guaranteed criticals. This is a wisdom save and can last 10 turns, requiring concentration. For our Pact boon, we have to take Pact of the Blade so Griffith can keep up his human-like facade of using his melee weapon. This will give us 2 actions, Pact of the Blade and Bind Pact Weapon. Pact of the Blade simply summons a weapon into Griffith's hand of his choosing, but it will never be as strong as a weapon that we bind with Bind Pact Weapon. This will make it so that the weapon Griffith is holding cannot be dropped and now uses our charisma for attack and damage rolls rather than our dexterity, so now Griffith could use any weapon in the game. Make sure you always always bind your weapon at the start of every day. With this, you can respect to drop some dex in favor of Constitution for concentration saving throws. Level 5. At level 5, quickly take your ability improvement feat and raise your charisma to 19. Hurry up and get the Hag's Hair to cap it at 20. Hurry, do it now. Now for our spell, you know we have to take Shatter for some more Femto gravity magic. This is a 3d8 thunder damage AoE spell that hits hard and is one of my favorite to use, as you can place it anywhere within 18 meters. It comes with a Constitution saving throw, and if they succeed, they'll still take half damage. Level 6. Moving up to level 6, we get the beautiful Deepened Pact extra attack ability, allowing Griffith to make a second melee attack during his turn. Remember that this only works with your bound weapon, so no extra attack if it's not bound. Hypnotic Pattern is a perfect psychic mind control ability for Griffith, as it uses a huge AoE that causes enemies to become hypnotized. They cannot attack, move, or act, and this will last for 2 turns. You can also cast this spell while silenced, which is pretty cool. Don't sleep on this spell. Griffith is an expert of control. Lastly, our Eldritch invocation will be Mire the Mind, adding yet another mind control body control Femto ability to our repertoire. This allows us to cast slow, targeting up to 6 creatures and halving their movement speed, while also reducing their armor class and dexterity saving throws by 2, making them much easier to hit. They can no longer take reactions and cannot make more than 1 attack per turn, just in time for when we are starting to encounter more enemies that have extra attack. It can also delay spells that an enemy casts by 1 turn. Flow can last up to 10 turns. Most people would have taken Repelling Blast by now, but we don't need our enemies further from us, we actually want them closer, so we will leave that out of this build. Level 7. At level 7, we're going to finish our Warlock Multiclass at level 6. With our subclass being the Archfey, we get Misty Escape. I love this ability. Upon taking damage, Griffith will turn invisible, and on our next turn, he can cast Misty Step for free. This would break invisibility, but could easily get you to safety or up to high ground. You could also not teleport and instead use the invisibility to your advantage and possibly deal some high damage to a close by enemy. Griffith obviously has some God Hand, otherworldly type speed somewhere, so there's our cannon for the Misty Step, and who's to say he can't go invisible, right? For our spell, I will recommend Counterspell or Fear. You can never go wrong with Counterspell, but for the purpose of this video, we will take Fear to continue the onslaught of Femto psychic powers. Fear causes the targets to drop everything they're holding and become fearful. With this condition, they will have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks, and will also run away from Griffith until the effect ends. This will last for 2 turns. Level 8. At level 8, we will finally switch back over to Bard. With this, we unlock another level 1 spell slot, and remember, you can use your Warlock spells with regular spell slots as well. Next, we have Jack of all trades. With this, ability checks that we are not proficient in get buffed by half of our proficiency bonus. We also now have Song of Rest, which is an action that you use out of combat that acts as a free short rest. For our spell, Featherfall or a healing spell would be pretty good options. The only other consideration would be Fairy Fire, but we have better spells that use concentration. I took Featherfall here, which gives you and your party immunity to falling damage. Level 9. At level 9, we now unlock our Bard subclass, which of course, to keep up with Griffith's human side, we will now take College of Swords, which gives us some pretty useful techniques to use during combat and unlocks our dueling fighting style. This simply adds +2 to our damage so long as we're wielding nothing or a shield in our offhand. Our new weapon attacks can be melee or ranged. Slashing Flourish attacks 2 enemies close by each other at once. Defensive Flourish increases your armor class by 4 after you attack, and Mobile Flourish pushes your target back 6 meters and allows you to teleport close to them, and is pretty useful to close the distance or knock an enemy back into your darkness. For our spell, we will take Blind. This spell simply blinds a target, giving them disadvantage on their attack rolls and giving you advantage on them, just like if they were inside your darkness. I like this spell a lot because it does not require concentration. Level 10. Here at Bard level 4, we will have a few choices to make. First, you can choose any cantrip you like here. Minor Illusion is particularly useful if you have a rogue on your team and will turn enemies toward the illusion, allowing the rogue to hide. I think Light is a pretty good choice for Griffith, considering how he hides behind the guise of being an almost holy figure. Griffith is the Light. Being the face of the party, I think the most useful spell we could take here would be Detect Thoughts. We already have plenty of crowd control and damage, so why not add to Femto's psychic prowess with Detect Thoughts? This will pop up in dialogue and can make for some pretty interesting interactions. If you want something more offensive, Crown of Madness is a very good fit for Griffith in my opinion. For our feat, we can take ability improvement to add 2 to our constitution, which helps with our concentration saving throws. Alternatively, Lucky I think is a fitting feat for Griffith considering the concept of causality in Berserk. With this feat, you get 3 luck points, which can be spent to gain advantage on attack rolls, ability checks, or saving throws. They can also be spent to make an enemy re-roll their attack roll. Causality, level 11. Here at level 11, we get 2 level 3 spell slots, another spell, and 2 more bard features. First up, we have Font of Inspiration, which simply refills your bardic inspiration on short rests as well as long rests. And second, our bardic inspirations actually have been buffed to 1d8 rolls. For our spell, I have to recommend Glyph of Warding. Being level 11, Griffith has gotten more used to his insane femto powers and now can not only manipulate people, he can manipulate the elements. Glyph of Warding is a beautiful AoE spell in which you place a rune on the ground, and when an enemy steps on it or if you place it under them, it will activate and explode with the effect you've selected, and you have a few different options to choose from. Very powerful and useful spell that I just cannot pass up. Level 12. Finally, at level 12, we unlock another extra attack, so now we can attack 3 times within our turn. There's been some speculation that this is a bug, but at the time of this video's creation, Baldur's Gate 3 has been out for around 3 months with several patches, and this second extra attack still works. We also gain Counter Charm, which is an action that gives you and allies within 9 meters advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. So not only can Griffith deal those conditions, he can buff his entire party with resistance to those conditions. For our final spell, I like Plant Growth. This may not seem like a Griffith type ability, but trust me guys, this is very powerful. This smothers the area in weeds that quarters creatures' movement speed, effectively only allowing them 25% of their entire movement speed. The real reason why this spell is so strong is because it doesn't require concentration, which in my opinion is just completely busted. Throw this down in some darkness and trap everybody inside. Also, it's flammable. With this, our Griffith build is nearly complete and you are now a master of manipulation in combat with the ability to control any situation you come across. Ear, Head, Birthright, a hat that simply increases our charisma by 2. So now we will have 22 charisma and just absolutely destroy everybody. Helldusk Helmet. This helmet gives us the ability to see in darkness, which we already have, but more importantly, it gives us immunity to blinding and critical hits, and also adds a +2 bonus to our saving throws against spells. We also get a decent ability with Immolating Gaze, which has a chance to frighten enemies and deal an additional 2d8 fire damage to enemies that are burning. You'll get this from the House of Hope in Act 3. Chest. Potent Robes. This beautiful set of robes allows Griffith to harness his femto power even further by adding a damage bonus to his cantrips equal to his charisma modifier. These robes also grant him temporary hit points equal to the same charisma modifier. We also gain a +1 to armor class. You'll have to save the tieflings in Act 1, and Alfira will reward you with these robes in Act 2. Helldusk Armor. This 21 AC heavy armor is great for any caster or class that can't wear heavy armor because once equipped, the wearer is now considered proficient with heavy armor. Aside from that, we have resistance to fire damage, immunity to burning, and will inflict burning on any enemy caster if we succeed a saving throw. We also get the ability to fly, which is femto all the way. Another piece of gear you'll get from the House of Hope in Act 3. Gloves. Daredevil Gloves. A beautiful set of gloves for a melee caster as it adds a +1 bonus to spell attack rolls, but more importantly, completely transforms your ranged spells into melee spells with a toggleable passive. Get these from the Githyanki Kresh in the Mountain Pass. Quick Spell Gloves. This set of gloves simply allows you to cast a spell as a bonus action, meaning we can either fire off 2 spells in a turn or even do some melee and a spell at the same time. You'll get these at the Sorceress Sundries in Act 3. Helldusk Gloves. These gloves gloves give us an additional 1d6 fire damage with our melee attacks, and we also gain a +1 bonus to strength saving throws and spell attack rolls in DC. We also get the Rays of Fire cantrip, which fires off 3 rays of fire, each dealing 3d6 fire damage. Fire. Boots. Disintegrating Nightwalkers. This pair of boots grants you immunity to the listed effects and also gives you Misty Step. So now we'll have another way to use Misty Step aside from our Misty Escape ability. You'll get these from True Soul Near and Grimforge. Helldusk Boots. With these boots, you can no longer be forcibly moved and you ignore the effects of difficult terrain. When you fail a saving throw, you can now use your reaction to succeed instead, which is absolutely busted. We also gain the Hellcrawler ability, which is another teleport spell that will also deal 2d6 fire damage in a 3-meter radius where you land. You'll get these from Worm's Rock Fortress in Act 3. Trinkets. Amulet of Greater Health. Here we have the ultimate spell for casters, as it sets our constitution to 23, which buffs our concentration saving throws by an absolutely absurd amount and also gives you advantage. House of Hope as well in Act 3. Ring of Regeneration. This ring simply heals you for 1d4 health points at the start of each turn. Obtain this from Sorcerous Sundries in Act 3. Weapons. Quick note, at the beginning of the game, make sure to pick up your first rapier on the Nautiloid and then buy the +1 rapier from Dammon at the Emerald Grove. If I find any more noteworthy gear options, I will list them down below in the pinned comment. Sword of Screams. A nice early game rapier that deals an additional 1d4 psychic damage on top of your normal damage. Pick this up from True Soul Near and Grimforge. Infernal Rapier. This insane +2 rapier is absolutely perfect for Griffith, as it gives us the Planner Ally Cambion Summon, which adds to our minions. You also gain a +1 to spell save DC, and if we didn't bind our weapons already, this weapon would automatically use our charisma for damage instead of dexterity. Very busted, and make sure you pick this up from Will's questline during the end of Act 2. Duelist's Prerogative. Easily the best rapier in the game, this +3 legendary weapon comes with several perks. First, it will add a bonus 1d4 necrotic damage to our attacks, and on a hit, we can spend a reaction to add even more necrotic damage equal to our proficiency bonus. While our offhand is empty, we also gain an additional reaction per turn, and with Griffith being able to do extra attacks with this weapon, we can now deal out an insane amount of damage. Also, while our offhand is empty, we will land a critical hit when rolling a 19. We also get 2 actions with Challenge to Duel and Dueler's Enthusiasm. Challenge to Duel is a bonus action that challenges an enemy to attack you, and you will also have a chance to inflict bleeding on that target when you hit them. The target also has disadvantage on attack rolls against anyone but Griffith. Dueler's Enthusiasm is yet another extra attack that uses a bonus action, and you can only use this while not wielding anything in your offhand. You can use this once per turn, which is just completely busted. And with that, our Griffith build is now finally complete, and you can sacrifice all of your friends to become the ruler of Baldur's Gate. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and let me know your thoughts down in the comments. That being said, thank you for stopping by, and until next time, Purge evil.
Yeah, crown in my palm, but I ain't put it on. Yeah, crown in my palm, but I ain't put it on. Yeah, crown in my palm, but I ain't put it on. Yeah, crown in my palm, but I ain't put it on. Yeah.